I've lived in Willow Bend Heights for almost 6 years, long enough to know every creak in the sidewalks and every neighbor who power washes their driveway at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. But despite the quirks, it was a peaceful community. At least until Lynette Barrow took over as HOA president. Lynette wasn't the loud, screaming type of Karen. No, her weapon was polished subtlety. Tight corkscrew bob, tangerine orange blazer, clipboard glued to her palm like an extra limb. She smiled like a politician and enforced rules like a prison warden. She called herself detail-oriented. Everyone else called her the high priestess of property values. I mostly ignored HOA politics. I'm a civil engineer, work long hours, and mind my business. But there was one thing I was proud of: my driveway. I had poured it myself 2 years prior. Clean, flawless concrete with a decorative stone inlay near the entrance. Unfortunately, Lynette hated it. I first learned this during one of her early morning walkthroughs. She patrolled the neighborhood like a mall cop with a diploma, pausing in front of each house and scribbling notes. I was sipping coffee when she paused at my driveway, squinting like it had personally insulted her. She waved at me. I waved back, reluctantly. "Good morning, Daniel. I couldn't help noticing your driveway sealant is unevenly applied. It's professionally done, 2 months old." Her smile thinned. Well, some of the community members expressed concern. Willow Bend Heights has a unified aesthetic. Decorative inlays are technically allowed, but your pattern is bold. It's gray stone. Exactly, she said, as if that proved everything. I shrugged it off. At worst, she'd send a sternly worded letter. I was not prepared for what came next. 2 weeks later, on a Wednesday morning, I stepped outside to find a bright yellow HOA correction notice taped crookedly to my door. It read, "Driveway surface inconsistency violates Section 9A, Community Uniformity Standards. Correction required within 10 days. I let out a laugh, a real one. My driveway was flawless. I had the engineering plans. The finish was uniform down to the millimeter. But Lynette doubled down. Every day. Monday, driveway reflects sunlight excessively. Tuesday, stone inlaid too visually distinct from concrete. Wednesday, potential trip hazard due to color contrast. Trip hazard? My driveway was smoother than a skating rink. By Friday, she escalated again, now citing structural instability. That one irritated me. I design infrastructure for a living. Her statement wasn't just wrong, it directly questioned my professional competence. So I requested a meeting with the HOA board. That turned out to be a mistake. Lynette ran the meeting like a monarch reviewing peasants' requests. She spoke for everyone, interrupted any board member who questioned her, and referred to me as the homeowner, like I didn't have a name. She pulled out photos of my driveway, printed on glossy paper. She said, "See here," pointing to an imaginary flaw, "this shadow indicates uneven curing. Tilted photo causes artificial shading. Debatable. It's literally physics." A few board members exchanged looks, but Lynette continued steamrolling the conversation. When I left, she gave me a sugary sweet smile. "We'll follow up soon," she said. And she did, just not in the way I expected. The next Saturday morning at 6:42 a.m., I was woken by the grinding, unmistakable roar of heavy equipment. I looked out my window and my stomach dropped. A concrete resurfacing crew stood on my driveway with industrial grinders and buckets of slurry, and at the center of it all, directing them like a general on a battlefield, Lynette, in a neon orange athletic leggings and a matching sports blazer, clipboard glued to her palm like an extra limb. She raised it as a defiant gesture as she smiled. I ran outside barefoot. "What the hell are you doing?" She didn't even flinch. "Good morning. Your correction deadline expired yesterday, and as HOA president, I've authorized necessary repairs to bring your driveway into compliance." "You don't have that authority." "Oh, but yes, I do." She tapped her clipboard. "Section 14C, Emergency Aesthetic Corrections." That isn't even a thing. It is now. The workers hesitated, glancing between us. Then Lynette gave them a single nod. Continue. One of the men started the grinder. Sparks flew. And that's when I realized this wasn't about rules. This wasn't about aesthetics. This was personal. Because Lynette had a problem with anyone she couldn't control. But she didn't know one important detail. If she damaged my driveway, she wasn't just wrong. She was breaking both HOA law and state property code. And I had the documents to prove it. This was only the beginning. The grinding sound ricocheted through the air like teeth scraping steel. My driveway, my perfect, meticulously engineered driveway, was about to be mangled because one woman wanted to flex her HOA crown. The resurfacing crew looked uncomfortable. You didn't need engineering knowledge to know this job didn't feel right. They weren't demolition contractors. They weren't inspectors. They were a bargain basement maintenance service Lynette had clearly pulled from the back pages of a coupon booklet. "Sir," one of them said to me over the grinder scream, "the HOA president told us you approved this." My jaw clenched. "Did she show you written authorization? My signature?" The man frowned. No. She said it was an emergency correction. Said you were out of town." "I live here," I deadpanned. Behind them, Lynette clicked her tongue in annoyance, stepping forward in her neon orange getup. She looked like a traffic cone with executive privileges. "Gentlemen," she said sweetly, "please continue. He's just upset because he's embarrassed." "Embarrassed," I hissed. "You broke into my property at sunrise and started defacing it. That's trespassing, vandalism, and a major liability risk." Her nostrils flared, just barely. What's a liability risk is ignoring HOA standards. I sent 5 formal notices. 5. "They were nonsense," I shot back, "and you know it." She didn't blink. "This community relies on uniformity, Daniel. Your driveway is excessively expressive. It's gray concrete." "Exactly." I took a long breath. If I kept arguing, she'd twist my words. She was good at that, taking something normal and turning it into a crime scene. So instead, I walked back to my porch, grabbed my phone, and calmly pressed the record button. "Lynette Barrow, confirm you entered my property without permission and hired contractors to alter my driveway against my will?" Her eyes widened, not with guilt, but calculation. She quickly plastered on a sickening smile. "Oh, Daniel, no need to dramatize. This is a community improvement effort." "Funded by whom? The HOA or you personally?" Silence. One of the workers shut off the grinder completely. The street became eerily quiet. "Ma'am," he said gently to Lynette, "we can't continue if the homeowner hasn't approved. This could invalidate our contract." She stiffened. "I am the authorization. As HOA president—" "No," I interrupted. "HOA presidents don't have unilateral authority to modify private property. Section 14C isn't a valid bylaw. I checked. Twice." A flicker of panic flashed across her face before she buried it. "Daniel, I'm trying to help maintain standards. If you cooperate, I can waive the fine. But if you resist this process, well, rules are rules." "Did you just threaten me?" She smiled. "I informed you of consequences." I ended the recording and immediately dialed the HOA vice president, a quiet IT guy named Mark, who hated confrontation but hated corruption more. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey, Mark, quick question," I said loudly, loud enough for Lynette to hear. "Did the HOA authorize a driveway correction on my property this morning?" There was a long pause. "What? No, absolutely not. Did you create a new bylaw last night called Section 14C? "What? Daniel, we haven't added a bylaw in months. What's going on?" I turned the phone so the camera faced Lynette and the grinding equipment. Your HOA president sent unauthorized contractors to modify my driveway. Mark swore softly, a rare moment of passion from him. I'm grabbing the treasurer and heading over. Do not let them touch anything else. But Lynette wasn't done. She snapped her fingers sharply, pointing at the workers. Do it now. Continue. That's an order. One man stepped back like she'd slapped him. Ma'am, this isn't worth losing our license. They began shutting down equipment. Lynette spun toward me, furious. You're interfering with an HOA correction. That's a violation. No, I said. What you're doing is illegal. Just then, 3 neighbors stepped outside. Mrs. Alvarez, who lived across the street, clutching her gardening gloves, Tom and Sheila, the couple next door, and a jogger, slowing to a stop, earbuds dangling. All of them stared at the spectacle unfolding. Everything okay? Mrs. Alvarez asked, wide-eyed. Everything is fine, just a routine beautification correction. No, I said loudly, for everyone to hear. She hired contractors to grind my driveway without permission. A ripple of murmurs spread across the gathering neighbors. Suddenly, Lynette wasn't in control. She was standing in the middle of a growing audience. The cracks in her authority were showing, hairline at first, but widening fast. The treasurer's SUV turned the corner. Lynette's smile flickered. Her grip on her clipboard tightened. She knew what was coming, but none of us knew just how spectacular her downfall would be.
Mark and the HOA treasurer, Helen, pulled up almost simultaneously, both wearing the expressions of people who'd rather be anywhere else than involved in Lynette's chaos again. They stepped out quietly, but the tension was loud. Mrs. Alvarez and the neighbors hovered nearby, pretending to prune bushes or walk dogs while openly eavesdropping. Lynette squared her shoulders and marched toward them, all confidence and bright orange fabric. "Good morning," she chirped, as if nothing catastrophic was happening. "We're handling a compliance correction, merely addressing a dangerous driveway defect before someone trips and sues the HOA." Helen blinked. Dangerous? What defect? Lynette pointed dramatically at the stone inlay, untouched except for the dust kicked up by the halted grinders. That right there. It's structurally unsound. I poured this driveway myself. I have engineering certification and stamped plans. Want a copy? Mark nodded quickly. Yes, actually. Yes, please. I walked inside, grabbed the folder, and handed it to him. When he saw the sealed engineering documents, his mouth tightened. Lynette saw it too. Her smile faltered. Technicalities. The driveway still breaches aesthetic uniformity, and as president, you are not allowed to create new bylaws without a board vote, Mark said, cutting her off for the first time in the entire time I'd known him. And Section 14C doesn't exist, Helen added. Lynette's lips twitched. Well, it should. And since I'm the acting president... You're acting like a dictator, muttered Tom next door, loud enough that everyone heard. A few suppressed snickers broke the tension. Lynette's eyes snapped toward him. Excuse me? But she didn't get far, because the resurfacing crew's foreman approached, hat in hand. Ma'am, we can't continue. This is unauthorized work. We're leaving before we get sued. You will finish this job, she barked, her voice cracking for the first time. No, he said firmly, we won't. They packed their tools and drove off, leaving Lynette standing in the middle of my driveway like a dethroned monarch. The crowd of neighbors grew. Phones were out now, recording. And that's when everything truly fell apart. Mark took a breath. Lynette, we need to talk privately. No, I said loudly, ensuring the neighbors heard. The damage happened publicly. The conversation should happen publicly. Even Helen nodded. He's right. Lynette spun toward me. This is an internal board matter. No, Helen cut in gently. This is vandalism on a homeowner's private property. That's not an internal matter. A spark of real fear flashed in her eyes. And, Helen continued, we received a complaint this morning from a resident who said you told them you had authority to enter their backyard for trash can alignment corrections. Did you? I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Lynette swallowed. I exercised reasonable oversight. That's not oversight, Mark said, voice surprisingly steady. That's trespassing. And this, he gestured to the ruined patches of my driveway, is unauthorized property modification. She clung to her clipboard like it was a life raft. You can't talk to me this way. I am the HOA president. Not anymore, Helen said softly. Silence fell like a sledgehammer. Lynette blinked. What? We called an emergency meeting, Mark said, after the complaints, the forged violation notices, and the, let's call it, creative interpretation of the bylaws. You were removed this morning. Unanimous vote. Neighbor whispers erupted. Phones whipped up to record her reaction. You can't do that, she whispered. We already did. Her breathing quickened. This is harassment. You're all conspiring against me. I've upheld standards. I've protected this neighborhood from chaos. Tom muttered, You caused chaos. Her voice rose into a shrill register. I improved Willow Bend Heights. I brought order. Crack. Everyone froze. Because Lynette, in her desperation, stepped backwards directly onto the unfinished, still wet slurry patch the contractors had mixed earlier. Her heel sank, she lost balance, and her clipboard flew into the air like a rectangular bird. She toppled backwards with a full, wet splat into the gray, gloopy cement slurry. Gasps, then laughter, then a few neighbors straight up cackled. Her neon orange blazer was now a dull, sticky gray. Someone whispered, That's the most uniform it's ever looked. I will never admit who said that. Lynette scrambled up, humiliated, covered in slurry and rage. I'll sue you all, you hear me? Every last one of you! Helen sighed. Lynette, stop. This has gone far enough. Mark handed me a document. Daniel, as acting president, please accept this official apology from the HOA and authorization for full restoration of your driveway at our expense. Neighbors clapped. And, he added, we'll be reviewing every action Lynette took during her presidency. If she issued fines or notices improperly, they'll be revoked. Lynette's mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked around at the neighbors. Every phone pointed at her, and realized the truth. Her power was gone. Her reputation, pulverized. Her control, crushed harder than the concrete she tried to destroy. She backed away silently, dripping slurry across the sidewalk, and disappeared into her house without another word. 1 week later, a professional crew restored my driveway perfectly, better than before. The HOA formally cleared me of every bogus violation, and Lynette, she quietly listed her home for sale. Willow Bend Heights is peaceful again, and every time I see my driveway, I remember one very important lesson. Concrete can crack, but so can a tyrant.